Hi everyone, so today I kind of wanted to do a talk about mental health. I have struggled with mental health since I was around 16, 17, and I am now 21. So it is taking me a very long time to learn how to cope and to go through everything that I've gone through. So one of the first things I want to start about is medication. Now, obviously, not everyone needs medication. There are so many other tactics and tools you can use to help cope with your anxiety, and anxiety medication is a very good tool to use. Preferably not long term, but for sure, if you're really struggling, it's an option. It's there. So I began my journey in high school when I started having panic attacks and anxiety, and I didn't know what it was. And at the time, I got in a bad car accident, so I kind of just attributed it with my body trying to cope with the trauma afterwards, but it never really stopped. It kind of just got worse. Fast forward, I went into college, and it slowly became worse and worse to where I couldn't handle it. I was working out at the gym 2-3 times a day just to try and not have a panic attack, and I would have to work out before classes and after classes, and I would just go for random runs and walks, and I would nap to try and get rid of the anxiety. And I was trying to eat right and do everything right, meditate, relax, do things I like to do, and nothing seemed to work. So that was the first time, I believe sophomore year of college. Was it sophomore? Freshman year of college, where I decided to reach out to a doctor to get help. So when I initially reached out, I was started on sertraline, which is the generic for Zoloft. And for about a year, it worked really well for me. The anxiety was subsided. I felt good. I felt happy. I was hanging out with my friends. I was going to class. I was doing my work. I was doing well in school. And then there just became a point where I felt like it stopped working, and I was kind of worse off than where I started. So I talked to my doctor again, and I was prescribed a larger dose. So I took that. Didn't really help. Throughout, a period of time, I kept increasing doses, and that panic and anxiety was still there. And along with that, I started to feel numb. Like my emotions weren't there. I wasn't feeling myself. I just didn't feel right. So I was then prescribed Wellbutrin, which is kind of supposed to counteract the effects that antidepressants can have. So I took that, and that made my anxiety a tiny bit worse. So I kind of discontinued that. Eventually, again, I was put on to Ativan, which was supposed to be used as needed for my panic attacks, and I would take that, and it wouldn't do anything for me. I mean, my physical symptoms when I have panic attacks is like I hyperventilate, I pass out, I get really dizzy and nauseous. I feel like I dissociate from myself sometimes, and it's scary, and it scares me. And it scares me to go places where I know I don't have any control over anything if I have a panic attack. So that wasn't working. So I decided, maybe medication isn't it. I decided to reach out to a therapist and a psychiatrist, and I was going to therapy about once or twice a week. Eventually twice a week, but I started out at once a week. And it was helping. It was kind of teaching myself how to rewire my brain and my thoughts, and to kind of analyze how I think should be thinking, I can show you guys some of the work that I did. So some of the things I did were negative thoughts trigger negative feelings. The types of negative thoughts that you can have and how they escalate, and how you can kind of prevent them or try to cope with them better. I had rules with coping with panic. I made cards, like coping cards. I had a panic attack record. I had just a lot of tools that kind of helped me deal with my anxiety in some way, shape, or form, but they weren't, not that they weren't working, because they did help. I also decided at that time to go off of my medicine because I decided I didn't want to have to depend on medicine for the rest of my life. So I went off of medicine and things got really, really bad for me. I was still seeing the therapist. I went into the ER a few times for panic attacks that I couldn't control, and I was just kind of stuck. I took off from school, I took off from work. I felt like I just had to stop completely everything and deal with my issues myself and not push myself, because I felt like I was truly at my breaking point. I, was going to college during the week and I was working every single weekend, and I didn't have much time to deal with the issues that I had going on. So, things got really bad. I went back to my doctor. I was then prescribed Prozac, which I was prescribed a lower dose, and then you know how they slowly work your way up. So then I was on Prozac. And then I wasn't taking my Ativan or anything, and if I did, it wasn't helping, so there was like no point in taking it. So then I went back to the doctor last week because I finally went back to school. I started school again, and I was having really bad panic attacks, and I was really scared because I get nauseous and I get lightheaded and I feel unsafe being on campus or on a bus or somewhere where I can't escape, or I don't feel safe if I have a panic attack. So I was then, my Prozac dose was upped, and then he decided to put me on Klonopin instead. And I've been taking it the past few days, and it has been helping a ton. More so with the physical symptoms, because when I have a lot of physical symptoms, it makes things worse. Like I get, I can't breathe, my heart's beating really fast, and I'm just in like this fight or flight mode, and it scares me even more. So it helped a lot with the physical symptoms, and it does help me relax my brain and my thoughts, and to calm me down a bit. As you guys can see, I'm probably still a little bit shaky and nervous during this video because I don't like talking about my anxiety. It's something that kind of triggers me because of what I've been through with it, so it's kind of hard for me to talk about it. But I just kind of wanted to make this video for anyone who is struggling or feels like they're alone, which I have for a very long time. I felt so alone. I saw everyone on campus and all of my friends being normal and doing normal things and not having this panic every single time they went to do something, or hiding away in their house because they're so afraid to go outside or go do anything. And it's really discouraging when everyone around you seems normal and you think that there is something wrong with you. So you are not alone. There are so many people that struggle with this, and I know it is a very stigmatized subject, and people think that you're weak or you can't handle it, and that's not true. It's not because you're weak-minded, it's not because you're not strong. You are literally stronger than most people, because I can guarantee you most people could not deal with this kind of disability, and it's hard because it's an invisible disability. So I feel like we constantly have to explain ourselves to people, and people don't believe us, and they think we're just lying or exaggerating or trying to get out of things, and that's not the case. And I got really depressed for a while because I was so tired of explaining myself to everyone. I just didn't feel like myself, and I was just so tired of feeling like people didn't believe me and people thought I was just lazy and weak, and I don't know, it really brought my self-confidence down a lot. But you can't think that way, because it's not true, and it doesn't matter if people understand your situation or not. You don't owe anyone anything. You do not owe anyone an explanation. You do not owe your job an explanation on why you need time off, or why, you need to do what's best for you. You don't owe an explanation to school or anyone, really. I mean, you need to put yourself first. And I, for a very long time, knew that I was not doing that, and I knew it would catch up with me. I always knew that in the back of my head, that it was getting worse and it was getting worse, and eventually it would catch up with me and I would be at my so-called breaking point, which did happen. I did hit a breaking point where I was just completely exhausted from fighting every single day, all the time, fighting myself, fighting what felt like the world. And it's not something I would ever wish on anybody. It is hard. It is a struggle, but I just want you guys to know that there are a ton of alternatives, and if you're afraid to reach out for help, don't be. There's so many people that want to help you. I have reached out to my school, my friends, my family, therapists, psychiatrists, doctors, and everyone is willing to help you. They're willing to work with you. There's a lot of good people in this world, and there's a lot of people that want to help others and want to make their lives easier. And for a while, I didn't think that way. I didn't think people would help me or wanted to help me, but that's not true. Reach out for help if you are struggling, because I promise you it's not going to get any better if you're past the point of helping yourself and you need professional help. Then you need it. And I'm not saying that drugs solve the problems, because they don't. They simply mask some of the symptoms that you have until you are able to figure out the root of your problems and figure out how to cope with them better. But this has been a topic I know a lot of people joke about. There are people who it generally affects their whole entire lives and their functioning, and it's a really poor quality of life. And I want to let anyone know who's watching this that you're not alone, and that it does get better. It doesn't seem like it. I spent the past 6 months pretty much alone, pretty much just put my whole life on hold because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to help myself. And it's a really scary thing when you just don't know what to do and you don't know if anything can ever help you. But there are options, and there's always a better day. There's always another day. And lately I have been in a pretty good place. Not the best place, but it's definitely an improvement, and for me that means a lot to me, because even small improvements are huge improvements to me. If you have any video recommendations, please let me know. I am now recording on an iPhone X, so hopefully the quality is better. If you guys have any questions about anything, please let me know down below. I'd be honored to answer your questions or to help anyone going through a hard time. You can always reach out to me. I will put my email in the description below if anyone ever wants to reach out to me. And I hope you guys have a nice day.